Hello everyone, this is Gail and welcome to another Tupelo Designs LLC polymer clay tutorial. I will be perfectly honest with you guys. As of this moment, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. I know what I want to make, but I haven't decided on a design or anything. So let me tell you first what I'm planning. It's something I've reached another creative block, and I'm sure it's just because everything has gotten so hectic with the holidays coming up, and there's just so much going on. And I just thought, well, what am I going to do for this week's tutorial? And I searched and I looked and I read and I flipped through books and things that I've done all along, and all of a sudden it hit me. One thing that I have wanted to do probably for the last 6 months or so is to do a polymer clay Hamsa. Now I'm not sure if you know what a Hamsa is. This is a cookie cutter set that I bought. I believe I got it on Etsy, and the girl that was selling these was in Israel. It took a long time for it to get here, but I have had this in my drawer. Matter of fact, I just opened the package that it was in, and I had not opened it before. So, here's the package. I just opened it up. So I thought I would try to do a Hamsa, and I've got so many ideas about the ways to do this, but I think I'm going to do the first one as a wall hanging, which means I will use the largest cutout. So I'm going to put these back. I've got another idea for like pendants or pins, and I may actually leave these out because I have had a request to show about a pin, and I may do one. But that will be a separate video. So again, I have some copper clay that I have left over from a previous project. So I'm going to use this, and this is a pretty wide cutter, so I'm going to find a place where the edges will not run over the edge there, and I think that's a good place. Now, this is only going to be my background, but I may leave some space between other items of the, other parts of this. And I'm going to leave this down while I pull my clay up, just to make sure it's cut all the way through, and it is. And this is on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. And you can see, I apologize for the glare, but you can see that it left some ragged edges. Excuse me, I'm just going to see if I can find a piece of paper to use so I can do away with this glare. And I do have a piece. This is mixed media paper. It probably is not a good paper to work on just because it will leach the clay. But I'm not going to worry about that at this point. Let me just put this back in and cut again just to see if I can clean up some of these edges. See how this is coming out from the side here? Or maybe you can't see that. But I'm going to just use my needle tool to go around it. And I think that's going to make a much cleaner edge. But like I said, it doesn't really matter because we're going to be messing with it and we're going to end up trimming it again anyway. So I'm just going to keep that over there to the side. So I'm going to just lay this down. I'm going to keep the cutter handy because at the end we may have to cut it again. We will see when we get there. But a Hamsa is it comes from the Middle East, and it's used in the Jewish faith as well as some of the other Middle Eastern faiths. And it's supposed to be a five-fingered hand, which these, you can imagine the 3 fingers in the middle, and then the thumb, it's like 2 thumbs, but it's a thumb and the little finger goes off this way. And it was believed to ward off the evil eye. And because of that, sometimes there is an eye on the Hamsa somewhere, usually, you know, in the center somewhere. I may do one. Let me see. I do have a marble out here, and I could put that in there, and I may use that. We'll see. I'll leave it out. See, this one is a little bit different shaped. It's a little bit flatter. I might use this one instead. If you could see my desk, I'm always talking about how small it is, and yet there is so many little things sitting here just waiting for me to use. So I may do an eye, and I may do some other things. If I do the eye, I probably am going to want to paint on the back, or maybe use a magic marker or a Sharpie, which I have right here. And I think what I will do, so it can be totally dry when we put it on the clay, I'm going to use the Sharpie to put a pupil on the back of that marble. And then I'm going to just put some little lines coming out. Trying to keep these as even as I can. And it doesn't really matter if it's straight or how these little lines come, because this is going to all be seen through the marble. And you can get these little marbles at any craft store, but I think I need to go over that center part again. It doesn't look like it's very dark. So let me just do it again now that that's dried, and maybe 2 layers of this will make it darker. I think that's pretty dark. And shouldn't take long for it to dry. So I think I will put that like right there. Again, that's being on the dark clay. Maybe I will put a piece of light clay. Let me see what I have here in my stash. I've got enough Primo clay here to sink a battleship. Let me just use, here's just a little piece of white. Let me just, and this is already conditioned because I just used it on another tutorial not too long ago. So let me just roll this down flat, or not real flat, but so that it can go through the pasta machine. And I'm going to roll it through the pasta machine once to get it all the same thickness. And this is a very thin setting. I forgot I had changed it. Let me go back to the thickest setting, and I'm going to roll this through again. And that's the thickest setting, which is number 1, and I'll go down to a number 3. And then I'm going to find a circle cutter that's about the same size as that marble. And this ought to do it. I would give you the exact, but your marble might be a different size from mine. Lay that up there. But I'm going to lay this on the back of the marble. And I'm not even going to trim around it. It's a little bit big, just a fraction big, but I'm going to put something around this eye anyway. But this way, the copper color doesn't come through the marble. So, okay, so I'm going to put that right there. Okay, Now I've also gotten out some of my old canes. I've gotten these out before, and you can see I've just got a lot of little canes, and I'm just going to use those to decorate this Hamsa. Now one thing about the Hamsas that I've seen and that I really like is that the majority of them have lots of bright colors on them. So in order to fasten this eye down, I want to use a small cane. That one's kind of small. I'm just looking for something that would be small enough that I wouldn't have to do a lot of reduction. Again, it is very cold here in Virginia. And not only is it cold in Virginia, but it's cold in this room because I really don't have any heat in this room. This is a room that was added on. It used to be a screened-in porch, and the people that lived here before me enclosed it and made it into an office. And that's where I have all my clay things. And there is a radiator in here, but it's sure not warming it up very much. And it's fairly chilly here today. So let me just think. What I think I'm going to do is just use a little, maybe some of these small bullseye canes. And I've got some that are even smaller than this that I probably ought to use over here. See, I told you I've got more canes than anybody ever would need. And this is after using so many of them. But these are about the same size, so I'm just going to lay them side by side, and I'm going to cut them at the same time. And just use these to fasten the eye. They came apart, which makes it a little bit more difficult to cut the two together. But I'm just going to use little balls, not balls. I could use balls. That's probably what I should be doing instead of using that. Let me see, do I have anything solid? No, I don't. But that's probably a great idea. Let me pull out some, let me see what I've got open. I love using things, using clay when it's open. Okay, so here's some, let's see what I've got. I've got some pomegranate and green left from my Christmas canes. I'll use these someplace else. But I'm going to take maybe the green. And because I want these all to be the same size, I will cut them, let me give a flat surface, and then try to cut them the same width. Let me see. I don't think that ball is going to be big enough. I need to do it bigger than that. Whoops. And you can see how cold my clay is. I just used this the other day and it's already gotten cold. So let me just warm this a little bit. Just rub it between my hands a little bit, just enough to warm it. It makes a big difference. And then maybe cut like 1/8 inch pieces. And I'm going to have to use the other little snake that I've got too. That one's a little bit too big. And here's the other part of that snake that I can use. And what I need to do is cut this way so I can see what I'm cutting. That was my problem. I was cutting on the wrong side of the blade and I couldn't see what I was cutting. I don't know how many circles I'm going to need. But let's start with this. And I'm just going to roll these into a little ball and put them up against the eye. And I'm going to do that all the way around. And this is the bright green pearl, the Primo Accents bright green pearl. And all of the clay can be bought at TupeloDesignsLLC. They're beginning to get more and more clay items in their inventory, so if you haven't visited recently, take a look again, because they're always adding things. I'm going to roll this in my hand because that way it can get warmer quicker because it has a larger surface. Rolling it on the cardboard is just going to make it that much colder. But this is going to hide the white that's in there. And I'm not finished with this yet. I'm just going to... Matter of fact, I'm not going to make you wait while I do this. I'm going to stop the camera and finish with the little green balls. Be right back. Okay, you can see I've got all the little green balls rolled now, and they're all placed around the eye. And now I'm going to take a ball tool and press down in the center of each one of these, just to add a little texture, because it would look kind of silly just having these little round balls here. But one thing about Hamsas, other than the colors, is the texture. I love the texture on the ones that I've seen. So I'm going to try to add as much texture as I can. So I like that better than just the plain balls. Alright, so now I've got these little blue discs. And I think I'm going to place these somewhere. Or maybe I'll use these for fillers after I do something else. I'm going to go ahead and use some of these little flowers. So I've got the green, so let's do the blue flowers. Is this the only blue flower I've got? I've got that one, I've got this blue. This is like a teal. Maybe I'll use this. Let me see how far down this design goes. Well, that looks good all the way down. See that? Looks good all the way through. So I can use this whole little cane. Again, I am going to warm it a little bit in my hands. If I'd thought enough ahead, I could have put these in a little bag and sat on them or whatever, but I just was, not thinking ahead. Now we'll cut off just a thin slice to kind of even up the end, and then I will start slicing. Try to make them all about the same thickness, and again, I'm cutting away from myself. Just makes it easier for you to see, but it's harder for me to see. So if you see my gray hair peeking in, it's just because I'm trying to see what I'm doing. And I'll save the little round one. So now what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put this one on this side, and I'm just going to fill in an area. with these pretty little flowers. Now we're not doing this to make it look like flowers as such. We're just putting it in here because of the design. So we're not worried about stems and leaves. And you can see why you want a nice background, because there's some of the copper is showing through here. And I think I will go all the way, I think I'll go all the way down this entire length of the thumb. You can even take your ball tool if you want, and let's make a little border here. And this is going to come down like that. So I will try to do another one that comes down very similar. So that you just kind of know the area that you want to fill in. And that one is pretty much filled in. So I'm going to save this because I might put them somewhere else. I could come all the way over to the eye. Let me see if this will fit in there. Just barely. I'm not going to try to force it. So that's one of the fingers that's filled up with that one. Let's find something that's not this, that's sort of like the same but different. Does that make sense? This is a smaller flower, and it's got pink and blue and slide these over till I'm ready to put them someplace. But I'm going to try to cut a bunch of these. I'm trying to cut towards me so I can see this time. Just slice them, you know, as thin as you feel comfortable slicing them. Maybe you feel like you're not experienced enough to slice real thin, or maybe you feel like you can cut them as thin as paper with no problem. So you just cut these the thickness that you want it to be, but if I were you, I would make sure that they all of your canes are the same thickness. Now this time I'm going to start here so I can go along that line. You see, they don't have to be the same. It is a flower, but it's something totally different. And like I said, I have no plan. This has not been thought out or designed. I am just going with it. And we'll see what comes out of it. Well, let me put that one here. And you can see it's some of this is going to hang over the edge a little bit. That's okay, because that's why I kept the cutter out. So when this is all over, we can just cut. And I need to slice a couple more. I didn't do enough. Maybe 2 more. And just try to get them in there the best you can. So there's another area of our Hamsa. I think what I'll do with the blue is, and I'll use my needle tool, is I'll take the blue and fill in this area here and use it sort of like an outline. I'm just going to do a single row and go along this line. Just to define the line a little bit. And I may be able to press these a little bit to spread them out. And I'll probably do the same thing over here. If I can get them in there, these are a little bit closer. I don't think these are so pressed down that I can't move them. Move them in just a little bit. But this is the kind of claying I like to do. I like to just sit and start playing and just see what comes out of it. That's, I guess, the creative part of me likes doing this. Now, this line isn't going to be quite as straight as the other one because these canes are a little bit different. But it's going to be alright. I may even fill in, no, I won't do that. Okay, so now I've got this and I've got this. Let me see, I do have these blue ones, but because I use blue here, this will probably need to go in the middle. So let me do some fictitious lines here. And see where we go. I hope this is going to be enough because I really like these little flowers. And if I use all these up, then it gives me a good excuse to make some more. Sorry for the silence. You know me, when I get to doing something repetitive, my brain just kind of freezes and I just enjoy the quiet. Let's see how this works. Let's see. Try to get these semi-even, and I'm going to just alternate 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And just let the copper show in between. What I like about this is just the freedom of not having to worry about being precise. You can just kind of do what it is that makes you feel good. So that's going to be our center. So we've tied in the blue. And I've got to use this color for something because I don't like having just this one thing. Of course, I'm not going to be able to tie this in because these colors, goodness knows what I mixed to make those colors. But I do have the blue. I've got the green. Let's see. These little triangles, I could slice these and put these in these little areas between those blue flowers. And they do look like leaves, I guess, but they're triangles with a black and white stripe down the middle. Before I slice a bunch, let's see how this is going to look. Maybe put it that way. I kind of like that. Put one there. And this way it's tying in the green. You don't have to do this. I just like to kind of balance out my colors. I think these two I'm going to go up that way. I just like to balance out the colors and not have just one color on there one time. Although that will be that way. I could probably fudge some colors from that cane. But look at that. That just kind of added to that and filled in some of those spaces. Alright, so let me put this back. And what else have I got? Since I've got a little small flower cane here, I probably ought to do a small flower over here. And let's see what I've got. I've got this blue. This was one of my favorite canes. And I've used it on so many things, and I've only got 2 little pieces left. So I think I'm going to try this one. Let me just warm it a little bit. And slice off a little slice so I'll have a straight edge. And make some slices. I'm not an asymmetrical person, so doing these haphazardly like this is really a challenge for me. I kind of like everything the same. Let's see what we've got here. So let me put this one in here. Or should I put this on the other? No, I've got that one there, so I'll put this one here. And I know I've got blue in here, but I guess this was my blue phase. They're different color blues. Let's see, what can I put in there? Because if I don't have room to, if I bring this down, it still leaves a big gap. So let me do this and fill in as much of the gap as I can. And I'm going to pick up this little point, put my circle down, and put the point on top of it. So this is your design. You can do what you want, and that's what I wanted to do. And again, I'm overlapping here. So I think what I'm going to do is cut this in half. And put that one in there. I still haven't quite used this little cane up yet, but it's not much, there's not much left. Oh, and there's a little purple one. Okay. So, alright, so I've got a dark blue here. I've got dark blue and pink here. I've got the teal here. I really need to put something over here that's teal. Again, I'm trying to be symmetrical. I probably ought to put a flower there, and I could do some kind of little triangle thing down here. I know you have no idea what I'm talking about, some kind of little triangle thing. Don't know what that is. Something's going to hit me in a minute and I'll know. Well, I could do a petal, but again, I'm stuck with blue. I could do what is this? This is silver around a lace cane, which I could do like little leaves hanging down there. But let me think about this side first. I probably ought to do something with a little bit of color. And I do have a bit of a rose cane left. But then that's two pinks on one side. I have a daisy. I don't have any yellow in here. Why don't I do a daisy? And if you are tuning in to see a strictly followed tutorial, I'm afraid today is not your day. Because if you've been watching this, you know it is not a strict tutorial. It is very laid back and just kind of doing your own thing kind of tutorial. Okay, I'm not going to cut any more till I fill this in. Oh, I like the yellow in there. And again, I'm going to have a gap, so I'm going to cut one in half, and maybe I will be able to fill in the gap that way. I wanted to do this so before I cut any more, so I'd know how many I needed to cut. Okay, I guess I need about 3. I'll put one there. Well, let's put one up near the point, and then I'll fill in that gap with the other half of this little flower. And then I just need, well, let me pull this up and put this other one in first. You don't mind me thinking out loud, do you? There. Now Hamsa's coming along. I'll start pressing this down just to make sure everything is going to stick. So far, I think I like this. Hope you do. I don't know what I'm going to do with these little things I sliced and then didn't use, because I really don't want to get rid of them, because I love this color. But I do need something down here, and I want something that's a different shape and a different color.